Okay, I put too many crazy mods on these guys. Okay, we exploded them all, no problem. Just get in the middle of a billion mobs and explode them. I fucking love EK. Hi guys, it's Mo here, and today I'm gonna talk about how you can transition from the Wave of Conviction Ignite Elementalist into the EK Ignite Elementalist. I'm gonna give you a bit of an update in terms of my league start and the league start strategy I'm doing, and basically let's start with the character. So a lot of people have been asking me on the stream especially, like, what are the things that you need in order to transition, and I would say those are mainly 4 things. Number 1 is you need Gloomfang. Gloomfang is very cheap right now. It's gonna be a little bit more expensive. You need better rolls. I bought this one. It's almost perfect. I bought it for 50 chaos. You can buy one for literally like 1 to 5 chaos. That is just any Gloomfang. It's not gonna have a lot of damage, but I recommend getting like a decent one right away. So Gloomfang is number 1 requirement. Number 2, you need to convert all of your damage. So you need to convert all of your damage to cold, and we're doing this through the gloves. So you need gloves with the crafted 25% fizz converted to cold. You need a Watcher's Eye, which is gonna have at least 35% fizz converted to cold while affected by hatred, and we need to be using hatred for that to work. And then you're also using a mastery here for 40%, right? So we got 35 and 25, that is together 60, and this is 100%. So we are converting the damage. So Watcher's Eye, gloves, Gloomfang, and then I would say helmet as well, and maybe enlighten, depending on how many auras you want to run. If you don't want to run haste right away, you can run without haste, and then you can fit this totally without enlighten, without even crafting this helmet, and you're gonna be completely fine. However, I do recommend crafting the helmet because you should get the helmet with the enchant already on it. Like, it's so much better playing with the enchant. I really don't understand why anyone would play this skill without the enchant. The whole appeal of this skill is that you just charge in the middle with shield charge, like in the middle of the map, in the middle, like in between 1,000 monsters. You press your button and everything around you in all directions dies, right? So this is the ultimate fantasy of clear speed build, and this is why I would definitely not play this without the enchant. So yesterday I started preparing for this transition, and I got the Gloomfang. I crafted the gloves today. The gloves, in order to craft them, I bought the base with the fractured spell suppression for 50 chaos, and I wanted to get like an evasion energy shield base as well. So I got that. I put an essence on it for the dexterity. And I rolled the essence with dexterity until I got some resistance. So I got suppression, dexterity, and also the cold resistance. And then you can get life from eldritch currencies, right? So you can use these eldritch currencies like eldritch exalts in order to do the prefixes and get some life on it, because you need the crafted modifier of physical damage converted to cold damage. And then for the implicit, so I spent in total like I think 60 chaos, plus the implicits was like another maybe 20 chaos or 30 chaos, something like that. So less than 100 chaos for these gloves. And then you can either get ignites spread to other enemies, or you can get damage over time multiplier, and the ignite spread would come from a cluster jewel, from a medium cluster jewel, Fan the Flames. So you can get the ignite proliferation either way. And then the other implicit is the exposure, because exposure is super important. We need it since we are losing Wave of Conviction, and we're not going to be using Wave of Conviction anymore for exposure. We need the exposure coming from something else. So here we got exposure on hit guaranteed, so that it works with our ascendancy. So gloves, number 1, that's how I went about it. Gloomfang I talked about. Helmet, basically also you want like fractured spell suppression ideally. I got this base for I think 1 divine. EK enchant on it together with fractured spell suppression. Even though it's a little bit of spell suppression, it's not a great roll, it's a T3, but that's still better than nothing, because I don't want to spend too much money and too many essences, because you gotta use these expensive essences that give you the 10% mana reservation efficiency. So I did that until I got some resistance on the suffix. I also got the life on it, and then for the prefix, ideally you want physical fizz taken as fire or fizz taken as lightning, whatever the craft is, but I don't have that unveiled yet, so I crafted +1 AoE and some AoE, and this is where I actually should put my auras, but I need to recolor this. What else? And the fourth thing thing number 4 is the Watcher's Eye. So Watcher's Eye, I like the one with phasing while affected by haste. This is really nice because it allows you to get permanent phasing, and you can just drop the flask and you don't have to have a jewel that procs, you just have perma phasing. It's really, really useful. I definitely recommend it, and you need at least 35% to roll on this unless you get like unveiled glove conversion mod. So this is the fourth requirement, and basically with those 4 requirements you swap a little bit the passives. So you need to pick up this to grab the conversion. That's the main thing. You probably need to grab some reservation efficiency and this reservation efficiency to fit everything, because right now I am running Grace, Haste, Hatred, Malevolence on a Blessing, and Herald of Ash, and I also will later fit in Herald of Purity with a higher budget. And that's basically how this looks like right now. I got Enduring Composure, and then if you look at this a little bit, of scuffed POB, I'm gonna share this POB with you in the description as well, but it is very, very scuffed, and I definitely don't recommend like 100% following that. This is just like an idea. I just straight up swapped the starting, this is still, you know, the starting Wave of Conviction stuff. I straight up just added the EK swap stuff and added the and changed the passives a bit, and that way I have this version so that I can like roughly know how to transition into this. But definitely this is a build that is a little bit more advanced. If you want to play this, I don't recommend this to newer players. However, if you can get over this and figure out how to scale your damage, and you don't mind dodging a little bit, playing a little bit of a squishy build early on, because it's not very tanky. We have some suppression, so with lucky suppression, because I have 65 suppression chance, with lucky suppression this is about 80% suppression chance, so we have about 80% suppression. I got a bunch of evasion. I got when I put on my flask, I got 14k evasion, so again, still not that much. We got a little bit of block, so for block I got 32 and 7 block, spell block. I still need to fix my chaos res a little bit, but of course I got super cheap gear. The way I fixed my ailment immunity, by the way, because normally you do this through modifier on the shield, on the chest, and on the boots, right? So you can have ailment avoidance on those slots, and you can solve that also maybe with an anoint. You can like anoint crystal skin, and that will give you 100% chance to avoid elemental ailments. I am doing this through Storm Shroud though, because I bought this one. I bought it I think for 90 chaos, and it's 3 divines right now, right? My league start strategy overall, in terms of the Atlas, I'm following very similar approach to the one that I showed before the league started. So I went for Betrayal and Expedition first, then I added Harvest, then I'm adding Legion, right? And then I'm also gonna add the altars, probably gonna go for blue altars as actually, because they work a little bit better with this build, and that's gonna be basically my tree here. And I might go also for like Growing Hordes, increase the pack size, stuff like that. We'll see. But in terms of currency making strategies, I am cleaned up on liquid currency. However, I have a lot of different investments, right? So I invested into a lot of things like fracturing. Like yesterday, for example, before logging out, I still had like 3.5 divines. So for 3.5 divines, or like 3.3 or something like that, I bought the fracturing orb, and right now is 4.5, right? So we made like a divine just by buying this, just by holding these. I bought the secondary regrading lenses for 40 chaos. They are 110 chaos. Then I have a lot of different jewel bases. You can see there's a ton of bases, some cards, some other stuff that I invested into that was costing me like 1 to 5 chaos, and it's gonna cost up to a divine. Eventually we can craft it for like multi-divine items. I got also a bunch of different stuff that I'm selling. I crafted some Stygian Vices. I crafted like a bunch of elemental damage with attack Stygian Vices. I got a few divines from selling those, and I'm going to be also crafting with rogues. So mainly just focusing not too much on advancing my character, but mainly on making like investments for the future, while at the same time slowly progressing the character and buying stuff whenever they are decently cheap. I wasn't rushing my Atlas progression, but actually I completed the entire Atlas except for 2 unique specific maps, the Twilight Temple and the Putrid Cloister. They are a little bit expensive now. They should come down in price once a lot of people stop like buying them for completing the atlas as soon as possible, and then I'm gonna buy them when they are a little bit cheaper. Again, like more sound economical choice, right? So now basically what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be farming like T14 to T16 maps, whatever I drop basically, and just running expedition, running legion, running harvest, then using the stuff that I find to craft gear, and then the currency that I'm gonna be getting, I'm gonna be investing into the future, and then maybe like in a week I'm gonna cash out on my investments, and I'm gonna get a headhunter, and then I'm just gonna make this character even juicier. Then I'm gonna start like really upgrading. The only other thing I'm gonna probably get before that is gonna be Taste of Hate, because Taste of Hate is such a good flask offensively and defensively. So I'm gonna get Taste of Hate. Since I'm gonna be removing Onslaught Flask most likely, I'm gonna also have to grab another Jewel Socket, and I'm gonna grab here, is it Brutal Restraint, I think? So I get a Brutal Restraint here. There are just so many different numbers of Brutal Restraints that are good, that give you Onslaught on hit in this area. There's like also like Frenzy on hit. There is also, or on kill. There is also like Dexterity. There is Ignites deal damage faster, Aura Effect. There's tons of good stuff you can get from Brutal Restraint here, and a bunch of Dex. So that's gonna be one of the things I'm gonna be getting. And I also bought this thing for 1 Divine, the Tattoo, +1 to level of all Dexterity skill gems, which helps my Ethereal Knives, which is still level 20, Haste, Hatred, and Grace. So 3 auras, and the EK is being boosted by this tattoo. So this is a very nice tattoo to get for this build. Bought this for like 1 Divine as well. So that's basically it. This is the progress so far. I'm gonna get back to blasting, crafting, and investing. That's gonna be my strategy, and I think it's gonna scale very well into the mid-league, where we're gonna pop off and be really, really rich eventually. But this is basically the setup now. The POB for the character I have currently is gonna be in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.